Today is chicken killing day. Step in the process. We first have to get the birds. Well, first we got to grow them to this size. We've talked about that a lot. But now we're processing them, so we take them from this cage and they go to the kill cones. It's the day of reward for all of our hard work and the 16 to 24 weeks that we spent growing these birds, and now they get to go to freezer camp, and then we get to enjoy them at our leisure. Today we're out here killing chickens, so I'm gonna walk you through the final process and show you how we take the chicken from bird to something that you're gonna wanna eat on the table. These have been, didn't give them feed yesterday. That'll make sure their stomachs are empty. And then it makes going through this whole process a lot easier. So first, we gotta select our biggest chickens. Some of the small ones might get pushed to next time, but we're going from the biggest that we can and down. But whatever we get. So I'm just doing one right now to show you how this whole thing goes now. So we got chicken. So it goes from the coop. Now this is the kill cones. This is a nice way, it makes it easier. Their head goes into the cone. And then you pull it out down here at the bottom. And it just kind of holds them. And they'll sit there for a minute. The blood will rush to their head. And if you sit them here for a little bit, they'll actually pass out. So they're really not feeling the blade that's about to go through them anyway. Bring it in close and I'll show you where to cut it. So on the neck, you can feel there's the windpipe here. And then just to either side of it are the veins that we want to nick. So we take the knife right under this. This is like the ear. It's essentially right under the ear. We look for those veins. We don't want to hit the trachea because that's going to make it freak out when it's looking for oxygen. But we take it and just make it nick there. See how the blood starts rolling? Same thing on the other side. Let it bleed out. And when we're in production with this, these are going to be rotating. So we've got one going in on this side, getting blood out, and by the time it gets to this side, it's ready to go through the rest of the process. So it's uncomfortable. It's convulsing because it feels that I cut it, but it's just losing its blood. There's nerve connections that are firing. Really because it's not in its happy place. If it were calm, we wouldn't see all this. Like when we've killed the rabbits in previous videos, they just kind of go. So this is kind of what to expect if you do it correctly. If you hit the trachea, you hear that like running around like a chicken with its head chopped off. Like we don't see that here. That only happens because now you've really enraged it. It can't like breathe. It's fighting for its breath. The head isn't there. All of the neurons are firing, and it does just kind of run around. But with this, it's a whole lot more humane. It bleeds out, just like a rear naked choke. You ever see, choke somebody, they just kind of, pass out. This is kind of that same effect. We're robbing the brain of blood, and it's kind of the most humane way to do it. Cool. So now the chickens, since it's bled out, comes out of the kill cone, but it's got all these feathers on it. Now notice this, if I pull on it, it's hard to get out. So it's got to go into a hot water bath at about 150 degrees, 145, somewhere in there. That'll loosen up these feathers and make it easier for us to pluck them out. So it comes over here to the scalder. This is a featherman unit. You can run a couple birds at a time, but it dunks it under the water. It starts loosening up those feathers. So this is the scalder unit, and it's about 150 degree water that we submerge the birds into. That allows the skin and the pores to open up, and the feathers just come out a whole lot easier. If you were going to pluck it without scalding, it'd just be really, really difficult. So this is an intermediate process after the kill to the plucker, but it just makes the plucking a whole lot easier. You could skin your birds, like a squirrel or something. People do that and take off all the skin just to have the meat. But if you want to have the skin and that crunchy flavor and taste, this is the best way to have that grocery store finished product look.
How long do you let it run?
60 to like 45 to 60 seconds. Some people will say like as long as 4 minutes, but their water temperature is probably too low. You'll know because when you start and you can reach in and start grabbing feathers, and you see how easy that came out. I'm gonna let it go one more time, but I'm just grabbing them and they're coming. Another thing, you see that skin on the feet starting to pull off. When this comes around the next time, I'm going to take it to the plucker, and that's this washing machine looking piece of equipment that'll help smack it around and take all these feathers off. So it goes from the scalder into the plucker. And so it comes out of the plucker. We see there's a couple feathers left on it, nothing that we just can't like pull off by hand. These up in the wings, those are tough to get. You don't want to get those. But because we did a good job on the scald, we see we have this white color in the chicken. If we cooked it too long in that scalder, we'll have like a yellow that's real nasty. If you look up here in the neck, we can now see that trachea that we talked about previously, and you see how that's intact. That's going to be important as we move on to the next stage. But now this goes quickly to an ice bath because we had that 150-degree water. We don't want our meat to sit out here in the sun, start collecting bacteria and such. So it goes to the ice bath now. So the chicken comes out of the ice bath. It's colder now, but now we can go through the gutting process. Again, we want to make sure these feathers are off of there. It doesn't matter so much for me at the house, but when we sell these birds to customers, particularly when you're paying $40, $60 a bird, you want them to be clean, and we want to deliver just a wonderful product. So we did the extra bit of time here. Now comes the gutting part. We find the trachea again, come down, and we're looking for the crawl now. And that's like the stomach. And we talked about, there it is. You see how it's attached right there. If it was full, we'd have this just massive grass and stuff, and we don't want to do that. So we've cleaned it up pretty much from the trachea above. We come with our knives now back around to the bottom. Here's the breastplate. So we lift that up, put a small nick here. We don't want to do a lot of cutting because we're cutting in and we're ending up wasting that in time. So most of it is ripping after just a little bit of a cut. Now we're into the guts. And just like the rabbits, so when I lift up here, now you can see all the guts and stuff. I reach up, with one scoop, hopefully, I can grab the trachea and everything and lift it out. The back. There we go. There's that trachea again. We don't want to do that. Notice how it's all back, right? Now we can take our knife, follow this down to the vent, which is the asshole. Follow down the other side. And now we've taken all of that digestive tract out. And see, we haven't really cut into any of the meat. Some people really want to like get crazy with it. On the back, though, notice this. This is an oil gland. That's something that you're going to want to take off. A lot of people, look, check this out. When I squeeze it, you see the oil coming out? That'll taint your meat. We don't really want that. Let me wash my hands before I go back to work. So here, now I'm taking off that oil gland and I'm taking off the tail because I don't like that. Some people like it. Commercial producers will say leave it on there because pounds equal profits, but I'm eating these things and I don't want that. Some people like the head, some people want to keep the feet. We can save those for people if they're ordered already, but if not, we have uses for them. You see how my knife goes in around the joint? If I'm really forcing it, it means I'm not in the articulation. It shouldn't be hard. So it comes off clean. Same with the other one. off very clean. Now, see how I left this skin? For packaging's sake, I'll take it, stick my knife through the hole, take the legs, and jam them through there. That kind of holds them nice, keeps it looking good, while it goes into the bagging. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I like to give it a wash off, give it a look. Make sure when we look up in here on the rib cage, there's no lungs or anything. So I'll run my fingers along the top, and much of like, see there's the lung, much of like a J-shaped fashion. Your fingers will find the rib cage and make that hook, and then it'll all come out. Same with the other side. There's the other lung. You give it a look-see. Some people like the necks, particularly for soup, so we leave those on there. But when you look up inside there, clean. So now it goes to bagging. Take my bag. I take my chicken head first into the bag. And notice how the feet sit nicely up. So I take my knife, put where the zip ties go. So then the zip ties go on. You can tie these if you want, but we found that the zip ties work really, really well for this application. So the zip ties go on. A little hole goes here. And that allows all this air to escape when we put it into the hot water and shrink this bag down. Let's see that. Last thing to do, we put our safe handling instructions over the hole. If we were going to weigh it, we'd do that now, put the weight on the bag, and then it goes into the final ice bath until we're done at the end of the day with all these 50 or 70 chickens.
Sean, dude.
Yeah, that's it.
Good job.
Thanks.